So, is everyone here familiar with Taylor Swift? If you're not, here's a quick primer. Taylor Swift started out as a big-time country music star, and aside from her obvious talents as a songwriter and a performer, one thing that resonated with her audience was Taylor herself. She seemed cool, approachable, and relatable. And then, after a few years in country music, she decided to do straightforward pop music. And this is where it seems like everything changed her persona. She started experiencing some very public conflicts with other celebrities, usually on social media. And this public back and forth between her and other people took a toll on her reputation. People began to question her motives. They began to talk negatively about her online. She even began to get a reputation as being calculated and fake, a view which was light years from where she'd first started. These views even inspired her to make an album called Reputation that addressed people's perceptions of her. Now, whether or not you care about Taylor Swift, here's why I bring this up. Most of the people who were shaping Taylor's reputation didn't even know her. Everything people believed about her was based on what they heard and observed from a distance. Their views were based on who they think she is, not who she actually is as a person. And the same is true for all of us. We all have a reputation. And it doesn't matter if 5 people are watching you or millions. And just like Taylor's fans and detractors, our reputation is simply formed on what people observe about us. Now, last week we began talking about wisdom. And we said that applying wisdom to situations and decisions will help us experience a better life both now and later. And cultivating a good reputation falls squarely into this category. Reputation is such a big deal that you start carrying one long before you become an adult. Remember the accolades that people received in your high school yearbook? All driven by reputation. And now, years later, we still carry some kind of reputation. Maybe at work, you have a reputation for being punctual and hardworking. Or maybe people think you're always late to work and slacking on your projects. Or maybe you don't think highly of your boss and it really shows. All of these things add up to inform how you're perceived by your coworkers. Or maybe you've always been the sarcastic one in every group. You make jokes in every situation. Maybe this has earned you the reputation of being a fun person to be around. Or maybe people see you as someone who can't seem to take anything seriously. Or maybe, when it comes to people sharing sensitive information with you, you're like a vault. You never gossip, and you've built a reputation for being trustworthy. Or maybe you love gossip and you like to share things you've been told in confidence. Your reputation may cause people to hold back in conversation with you. And even if we're not being intentional about our reputations, we still experience the effects of having one. Your reputation at work could be the difference between getting a promotion or being stuck. Your reputation can also affect your relationships. Basically, it affects any area of your life involving people. And since people are everywhere, your reputation affects you everywhere. No matter what your experience has been with your reputation, whether it's good, bad, or even inaccurate, the truth is we all have one. And regardless of whether or not it's fair or whether or not it's right, how we're perceived will impact how we're treated. It'll impact our quality of life. It'll impact the quality of your relationships. And it'll either give us more or less influence with the people around us. The reality is that a solid reputation holds more value for each of us than we may have ever assumed. Let me show you what I mean. Let's return to the book of Proverbs. As we mentioned last week, Proverbs is a collection of wise sayings, mostly written by King Solomon, who was considered one of the wisest people to ever live. And this particular verse makes a big statement about the value of a good reputation. It says this: "A good name is more desirable than great riches. To be esteemed is better than silver or gold." This is a strong statement, right? In fact, I bet most of us here could list a lot of things we'd consider a bigger deal than our reputation. A lot of us would probably argue that our bank statement matters more. Or maybe our health or the health of our family members matters more. Or maybe it's the school our kids attend or the car we drive. But here's what's true about our reputation. Our reputation doesn't really matter to us until we wish we had a better one. In other words, we could think of about a dozen or more things we might consider more valuable than a good reputation until our reputation is called into question. And then everything changes. A reputation doesn't seem like that big of a deal until someone you knew back in college moves into your neighborhood, and you start to think back to how you behaved during that time, and suddenly you care a lot more about how your then may impact your now in that relationship. A reputation doesn't seem like that big of a deal until an old coworker becomes a current coworker. Maybe they saw you generally goof off and not care about the quality of your work and how that affected those around you, and suddenly your then has resurfaced into your now. Your reputation as someone who's constantly sarcastic at other people's expense didn't seem like that big of a deal until you finally get the chance to date the girl of your dreams. But your reputation preceded you, and what you did then has made her weary of dating you now. The reality is that our reputation, even one from years ago, can affect our now. And when you consider how your reputation can impact the quality of your life, a good name does sound pretty important, maybe even more important than money or things. And listen, if anyone would know this is true, it would have been King Solomon. During his lifetime, he amassed more wealth than any person could ever spend. And in spite of his great wealth, in spite of everything he controlled as a king, Solomon knew that some precious things in life can't be bought. And when you can't buy something, that makes it priceless. What do people think about when they hear your name? That's priceless. That's worth protecting. That's worth cherishing. That's worth making right. Because your reputation will last much longer than your bonus check, and it sticks around longer than any accomplishment. It impacts now and it impacts later. So if we all agree that a person's reputation is priceless, how do we start to cultivate and protect our reputation? This is where wisdom really shines, because our reputation will primarily result from not just making the right choice, but from making the wise choice. And when we aim to make wise choices, we move away from making foolish choices. In the same way that a bad reputation can hamper your future, a good reputation can open up possibilities for your future. Your reputation now can open doors for you later. Simply put, a good reputation is good for you now and good for you later. So what can we actually do about our reputation? What can we control in an area where perception matters so much? Well, first, we can control what we want to be known for. We don't have to be passive spectators in our own lives. We don't have to accept that things will always be a certain way or that we have no control in this area. We can decide what we want our reputation to be, even if it isn't that way already. And then we can work at becoming those things. So if you could be known for just 2 or 3 things, what would they be? What would you put at the top of the list? You don't have to know the answer right now, but it's worth thinking about. Take the next couple of days or weeks and consider how you'd answer that question. Consider even inviting other people into the process with you, people you trust and who know you well. Maybe that's a spouse or a roommate or a longtime friend. They may offer you insights and perspectives into what should be at the top of that list. And once you've decided on those 2 or 3 qualities, think about how those things play out in the different areas of your life. Is it possible to be those things at work and at home, out with friends and at church? No matter what qualities you want to pursue, work on building a reputation that's consistent, no matter where you are or who you're with. Some of us may feel like it's too late to salvage our reputations. Or maybe we've earned one type of reputation with one group of people and another reputation with a different group, and we aren't proud of that duality. So the question for us isn't about starting with a blank slate, but instead how to move forward with what we already have, even if it isn't the best starting point. And here's what you need to know. A bad reputation isn't permanent. In fact, just like a few decisions over time have earned you a negative reputation, going forward, different decisions over time can make you known for something else. It won't happen overnight, but taking control of your reputation is possible over time, and it's worth it. And the best part? These decisions will yield some short-term benefits, absolutely. But more than that, intentionally working on your reputation now will pave the way for the later results you want to see. If you intentionally cultivate a responsible, considerate reputation at work, it's going to pay future dividends. If you focus on being a kind person who takes a genuine interest in other people, it's going to positively impact your relationships. If you're patient and listen to your kids, you're investing in having a healthy relationship with them when they're adults. Are you noticing a pattern here? Just like a good reputation can't be bought because it's an invaluable possession, other invaluable parts of life can't be bought either. The single biggest impact of our reputation is on our relationships. And good relationships, one of life's most invaluable treasures, you can't buy those either. If you want to gain what's invaluable, invest in the invaluable worth of your reputation. Listen, as we wrap up today, it's important to remember this. Proverbs is a book of wisdom, but it's not a book of promises. Yes, a good reputation is more valuable than riches, but it's not a promise that all people with good reputations are going to get everything they want. And it's not a promise that people with bad reputations are always going to fail. We all know things don't always work out that way. But I can promise you this. Cultivating a good reputation can help impact your life where it matters most. And that's with the people in your life, an invaluable treasure. And even though we aren't promised perfect results, when we apply wisdom to our pursuit of a good reputation, we'll never regret that choice. The great thing is that your reputation is one of the few things you can control in your life. So take hold of what Solomon said and begin cultivating the kind of character you want to be known for. Because remember, a good reputation is good for you now and good for you later.